Just give everyone a little bit longer to join us before we make a start. All right, we're at 7:02 now, so we might make a start and people can join us as we carry on. So thank you for joining us here tonight, everybody. My name's Deb, and you've come here tonight to understand why your associations appeared on the list from LGIRS as being non-compliant and at risk of being deregistered, and what you as a P&C need to do next. So after our acknowledgement of country and some introductions and housekeeping, I'll give you an overview of the current situation and then provide some next steps for your P&C. Then we can move into some question time to hopefully answer any of your burning questions here tonight. The Western Australian Council of State School Organisations pays respect to First Nations and traditional custodians throughout Australia, recognising their connection to land, waters and sky. We acknowledge parents, families, elders and communities as first educators, sharers of culture and knowledge, and recognise the value this learning holds for children and young people. Your WACSSO team here tonight is Michelle Slater, our CEO, Debbie Booth, our Training and Finance, and myself, Deb Ryan, Accounts and Governance. We're also joined by Mark Ing from LGIRS, and we're very appreciative that you could take the time to be here tonight. Mark, thank you. We'll be recording this webinar as we go tonight so that you can refer back to it as you need to, and also so we can share the knowledge with those that were unable to join us in person tonight. If you have any questions as we move through, if you could just pop them in the chat function and we'll address them as we cover each section, as well as having some open question time at the end. I'm going to start at the very beginning tonight to give you all an overview of your obligations as an association. All incorporated associations in WA have legal reporting obligations, and your core regulator is LGIRS, the Department of Local Government, Industry Regulation and Safety, formerly known as DMIRS. If you're also registered as a charity with ACNC, which is the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profit Commission, then you'll have reporting obligations with them also. Your association is required to maintain its details with LGIRS, and this is done via Associations Online portal. Your committee should have a member responsible for this, and you'll find in your constitution at section 15.3, this is listed under the duties of the President, although duties can be delegated administratively. Your P&C needs to register an individual member who then links themselves to your association via the portal. We will include an instructional link to how to do this a bit later in the webinar. They then become the person to whom any notices from LGIRS will go to regarding the association's obligations. It's important that these user details get updated with any change of committee. You'll note also that most associations have me as a WACSSO representative as a primary user on your account. This assists with keeping continuity between users, and we ask that you please don't remove me as a primary user. All incorporated associations have an obligation to lodge an annual information statement with LGIRS each year, and it's due within 6 months of the end of the association's reporting period, also called your financial year. This is in section 4 of your constitution, and it's one of the few things that can be different from one P&C to the next. This AIS, Annual Information Statement, captures important information like the date of the AGM of your association, your financial year end date, the address of your P&C, which is your school address, confirmation that you have at least 6 voting members, and your revenue for the year. This can be lodged via the association's online portal by the registered user. However, there is an exemption to having to lodge this via LGIRS, but this exemption is only available if your association is registered with the ACNC as a registered charity and you've completed your AIS requirements with them, including the additional state-specific questions that cover the above information. Specifically, the exemption will only apply where the details you lodge with ACNC can be linked to your LGIRS account and where all the relevant details are completed. Your registered user with the association's online portal will receive an official exemption notice. Another reason that it's super important to have current contacts registered with LGIRS. If you don't receive the notice, then no exemption has been applied. This is an example of how it will appear in your association's online portal. So how have we ended up here today? Your P&C has been identified by LGIRS as having 1 or more years of your AIS lodgements outstanding. If your P&C remains non-compliant, it can lead to the Commissioner taking actions to deregister your association. This means the loss of your incorporation and any assets it holds. The School Education Act requires P&Cs to be incorporated, so losing this status will mean you're no longer a P&C. Accordingly, it's important that you act promptly to rectify any actual or perceived non-compliance. WACSSO has commenced some preliminary review of the P&C associations that have appeared on the list. We've found that there are generally 3 scenarios that your P&C may currently fall into. We're working to communicate our findings with each P&C individually, and you'll receive an email in the very near future to identify where we understand your P&C stands. I'll first of all discuss the potential scenarios and then talk about the next steps to take to rectify the overdue lodgements so you can attend to them ASAP. This will also be covered off in your individual email. Scenario 1. Your P&C association has overdue annual information statements with LGIRS and you're not a registered charity with the ACNC. To rectify this, you need to register as a user on Associations Online and lodge your outstanding statements. Instructions on how to become a user and how to lodge your statements have been produced by LGIRS and we'll have these links in a slide at the end of the webinar. We'll also resend the links after the webinar. It's important to note that LGIRS have provided a one-off exception to assist in catching up these lodgements. They've advised if you're able to ensure the latest 3 years are lodged, any outstanding lodgements for older years will be forgiven on this occasion. Scenario 2. Your P&C association has overdue annual information statements with LGIRS and you are a registered charity with the ACNC, but you've outstanding lodgements with the ACNC that you haven't yet completed. In this instance, you need to ensure you complete your reporting obligations with the ACNC via their portal and answer the questions in their entirety. Excuse me, to enable the exemption from lodging with LGIRS. This includes answering the state-specific questions that are in the AIS. ACNC also have instructional videos on how to register on their portal and how to lodge your AIS with them. And again, we'll have the links available later. Sorry. Scenario 3. Your P&C association has overdue annual information statements with LGIRS and you are a registered charity with the ACNC and you've completed all your lodgements with the ACNC. This indicates there's either a mismatch or some missing information in your ACNC lodgements that's preventing the exemption to be applied to your LGIRS. In this instance, you need to go back to the relevant years that are showing as outstanding with LGIRS and review what you lodged with ACNC. There's a checklist of questions that you'll need to log in and view to make sure you've answered them completely and correctly. These relate to your IARN, which is your Incorporated Association Reference Number, your AGM date, which must be within 6 months of your end of reporting period, confirmation of having at least 6 voting members, and your revenue for the year. By logging into the ACNC portal, you're able to review the AIS that you previously lodged, and you can lodge an amendment to rectify any missing or incorrect information. Once you've amended it and your accurate information is input, this should allow your exemption to apply to LGIRS, and you will not be required to lodge directly with LGIRS for that year. Just keep an eye out for the exemption notification as we previously discussed. It's very important to note that you need to double check the questions that you answer in the ACNC are complete and accurate to be able to obtain the exemption for LGIRS. Your financial year must be the same as that which is in your constitution, and your IARN must be correct. If you do not know these details, please get in touch with us. The other important thing to check is that your name is accurate across the 2 entities. For example, we've seen situations where a P&C has been incorporated as the Boothie Doon School P&C, but on their ACNC registration, it's been completed as the Boothie Doon Primary School P&C. By having that additional word primary in there creates a mismatch between the 2 reporting bodies, and the exemption with LGIRS can't be applied. Our goal is not just to solve the immediate issue, but to help associations understand their ongoing obligations moving forward. Each year, your association must lodge an AIS with LGIRS or ACNC. And if it's with ACNC, ensure you receive the exemption notification to be sure that your LGIRS obligations are also met. Ensure that your association has good handover processes in place excuse me, for change of committees, so that when new executive members come on board, they're aware their reporting obligations and that they must update their member details with both LGIRS and ACNC. These are some of the links that you'll find helpful in navigating the various sites. LGIRS have created very helpful instructional videos on firstly registering with associations online and then on submitting your AIS. ACNC also have videos that will walk you through registering on their portal, updating your responsible persons and lodging your AIS. WACSSO has created a guide to help you navigate through this process as well on our website, and we'll be providing further information subsequent to our detailed findings. We'll be emailing these links to you as well. Excuse me. I want to take this opportunity to thank you all for your time in volunteering for your associations and the difference that you're making to the children of Western Australia. We can now open up to any further questions. There is also several ways you can get in touch with us or with LGIRS directly with any further questions you may come across in doing this. Have we got any questions in there, Debbie?
Thanks, Deb. There was actually a question about will they get a copy of the slides, and that's correct, you will. And there's also, they're wanting a list of the acronyms that are being used, so I think we can arrange that one as well. I have actually unmuted Mark if he wants to, or given him the opportunity to unmute himself if he would like to make any comments. But we've got a question here from Laura saying, if we do both the LGIRS and ACNC registration, will that break anything?
No, it won't break anything as long as the information you put between the 2 entities is exactly the same. Otherwise, that will cause some issues if you haven't lodged the same information with both. But no, just doing the 2 lodgements in the same fashion will be okay.
And we've also got a comment from Mark. We've actually got the LGIRS number incorrect there, but we will amend that before we send out the slides.
My apologies, I will fix that up.
That's fine.
Deb's got an inside number, perhaps. Mark, was there anything that you wanted to add?
Look, I actually ran a report today. Out of the 5,000 that are on the hit list to be cancelled, there's actually been 808 associations that have become compliant within 2 weeks since the media release has gone out, which is great. I think what we need to also educate many P&Cs and many incorporated associations is just to actually put it as a standard item in their AGM to lodge the annual information statement once they've actually held their AGM. If it's actually a standing item on their template, it's never going to be forgotten. So if they put that on their template for the AGM yearly, that's probably going to stop a lot of these issues propping up.
One of the things that we send out is our P&C handbook every year, and we do actually have a series of checklists in there, and this lodgement is included. So guys, keep an eye on your handbook and follow those checklists.
Absolutely. Laura, I can see you asking there about the ACNC. They waived your requirement to lodge an AIS last year, which then obviously didn't help with LGIRS. So you're correct. If ACNC does not require a lodgement, then there's no opportunity for an exemption with LGIRS. So then you still do owe a lodgement with LGIRS.
And the really important thing is to keep those contacts up to date with LGIRS too, because if there is an issue, the person who's listed as their contact is the people that they will contact. So you won't know that there's a problem unless your details are up to date.
That's it. And we are working diligently to try and sort of evaluate each individual P&C. It will take a little bit of time, but we're hoping to give you a little bit of insight as to which scenario you fall into. I do have some early stage information at this point. If anyone's keen to hang around after we finish these questions, I can give you an individual insight of what we've found so far, if you're happy to share it with the group.
And Michelle had her hand up.
I was just going to ask Deb, thank you for that presentation, well done. And I know you've been doing a lot of work on behalf of P&Cs in the background, analysing data on all the different websites. Do you have an understanding of the three scenarios, what sort of percentage P&Cs are falling in those different categories?
In the early stages evaluation we've got at the moment, it is looking roughly 60-40, 50-50-ish, as to those that legitimately have obligations that haven't been met, as opposed to those who are compliant with obviously lodging with ACNC, but the data has a mismatch for whatever reason. It could be an incorrect IARN, or it could be a slight difference in their name. And then that's just stopped the flow through. So potentially if they can amend that on the ACNC side, it'll be a quick fix to flow through to LGIRS.
Well, that's good news. It sounds like maybe the majority might have a pretty easy fix if they address it.
Correct, yeah.
The other thing I would like to add, Deb, is I've noticed a couple of P&Cs that were on my list today that have lodged. Some of them still do have 2 outstanding, so some have actually just lodged the most recent and have been emailing my staff saying they're now compliant. Unfortunately, they're still not compliant. They do need to lodge the minimum of 3 to avoid possible cancellation.
Okay. So that's potentially, depending on when their financial year ends, it'll either be 25, 24, 23, or
Yep.
if their 25 is not quite due yet, then it'll be 24, 23, 22.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that when reporting with ACNC, a lot of P&Cs are putting 30 June as their end of financial year, as they're assuming it is just a standard financial year. With a lot of P&Cs, it is 31 December.
Okay. So that's a key piece of information to keep an eye on. As I mentioned earlier, that's at section 4 of your constitution. So that will tell you what your financial year is for your particular P&C.
And if they're not sure of their financial year or any of their other details, they can always contact us as well, because we have most of that information on file.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep, for sure. We lodged, but we hadn't heard back yet, Tanya. So you had lodged with the ACNC or with LGIRS? Sorry, can you just...
Tanya, are you saying you didn't get a receipt for the lodgement?
It's just replying now.
Yeah.
I've just turned on Tanya's mic if she wants to speak.
Okay. Did you want to speak, Tanya? So potentially, as far as going on to the ACNC, it's public information, so you'll be able to see what's up to date there. But if it's LGIRS you're referring to, then the exemption needs to actually flow through. You need to have.
Melanie, I noticed you were typing. I have actually given you the opportunity to unmute as well. I might actually do it for everybody. And if it gets out of control, we'll mute you again.
This will be fun.
Be like a WACSSO meeting.
When we're done with generic questions, we can probably turn off the recording. That if anyone was comfortable asking specific questions about their P&C, you're welcome to do so if you're comfortable doing that in the group environment.
And Michelle, once again, if anyone does have any specific questions in relation to their P&C, obviously I do have full access and I can see whether or not where it's at, because I can see what you're saying, Tanya, you lodge with ATO. It's not a requirement with us to lodge with the ATO. Are you meaning the ACNC?
I did try and unmute you, Melanie, but obviously it's an issue.
Perhaps we can finish up the recording.
Find out. Yep.
Perhaps we can finish up the recording now and then open
I'll stop the recording now.
Personal questions. Yeah.